How's it? Wow, guys. It's amazing to be here, I've got to say. For me, my name is Trevor. I'm COO of OTOY. I'm also on the Render Foundation board. And I'm really excited today to get to introduce Tristan to you folks. Yeah, a fantastic part of our team.
Thanks so much for the info, Trevor. It's lovely to be here. It's been a wonderful day of meeting the team that works remotely and meeting the community, the artists, some of the node operators, some of the token holders. So yeah, lovely day.
It's amazing. So two South Africans sitting on the stage. Have you been getting some questions?
Yeah, what are the chances? So yeah, I mean, interesting little backstory there. It was just over 2 years ago when I was approached by a director in Cayman asking if I could help out with the Render Foundation. Introduced me to Trevor. He said, I think you're going to know this guy. He's South African. I think he went to your school. And I said, okay, well, what's the name? And he said, Harries-Jones. I was like, well, there's only one Harries-Jones, you know. And it turns out I was in class with Trevor's younger brother.
That's true, yeah.
One Harries-Jones family.
Yeah.
And yeah, so onward and upward from there.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, folks, it's been a great day for us. And I've got to say, start to finish, it's been inspirational. For us, as we were putting this together, we were sitting here thinking, from our perspective, how do we summarize what's been an absolutely amazing event? And Tristan came up with inspiring, innovative, and unforgettable. I think the team here have done an absolutely amazing job and have really represented the foundation and the community phenomenally well. I'd say, a huge hand to them. Thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's Ellie and Jackie, I think, bore the brunt of the coordination today. Good guidance from Ryan and an amazing amount of input from Jules. I mean, is that a marathon day for him? How long has he been on stage here today?
I think he had a 10-minute break, but I mean, it's been truly impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and amazing to hear him. Yeah. Just a second also, the cross-section of artists that have done just some of the most amazing work, the crypto experts, the AI partners, it's been truly amazing to see it all here in one spot. And I'm really hopeful that the foundation can do this again on an ongoing basis. For me, it's been absolutely phenomenal.
Have to agree with that. Really excited for next year already.
Yeah. All right, so looking into it, we thought we'd have a cross-section of a couple of areas we'd talk about. We know from the community side there's been a groundswell asking for more information. And in a big part today, we're trying to address that and try and give some information as we can around the ongoings of the network and some of the things here that have really excited us. So when I look at 2024 and really think about the accomplishments, what stands out to me on that line is the 96 artist grants. And for us, that was a really big change for last year. A huge thing to get past that first year of BME, but and to get community engaged and voting, but to get almost 100 artists in the ecosystem and using this amazing distributed network, to me is huge. And yeah,
some great examples and many here today. I got into the Alex Pearce session with some plates and saw some of the behind the scenes work they've been doing. It is phenomenal. I've been hearing a lot about Alex and the work he's been doing, and seeing it in real life. It's a completely different level. And yeah, so cool. There's some other great examples. Alex Lebrov, a VFX specialist, has been really working hard in the back end to strengthen the power of the VFX tools and integrate those into the network. And he launched last night a video on the progress he's made there. So really exciting stuff for him. So people pushing the envelope of what's possible on the network, and that really excites us.
Yeah, truly amazing. All right, so jumping into it, and hopefully not all of these are new, but they are pretty staggering to us as we step back. You know, the network is really early in its progress. When you think about last year, there was so much foundational, you know, adding Redshift as a second renderer, adding, you know, a Cinema 4D wizard, starting to do AI jobs on the network. So for us, you know, a great starting point in tripling revenues year on year, but really it's a start. You know, this network is not at the scale we believe it will be. So it's something that, while I'm proud of, I think we'll keep track of. And for me, it's really more an indication of the future potential beyond this that gets me excited. Still, you know, 12.7 million frames is a lot of frames done on the network. And that's really a testament to this being a real product. As you folks walk around and you see all the different exhibits, to me, it's truly amazing. And I love that fact that, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs are created on the network, and that, you know, it's in the millions on the frames. What I'd say on the other side, on the node operator side, is over the year we maintained a consistent over 2 million OctaneBench. OctaneBench is a measure of compute power that we use on the rendering front. But to give you a yardstick, you know, we price in OctaneBench, and we're talking, you know, a couple of euros. So the fact that we have 2 million of available power at any point really just shows the potential behind the network as it stands today.
Superb.
Yeah, and then of course a lot of last year was around the upgrade from our old token to new render, and to have got the majority of the community over and upgraded and now on Solana is fantastic for us. I think when you hear Jules talk about provenance and so many on-chain elements, for us this was a precursor to doing that. And I really think as the community digests this and as we move towards a couple of new RNPs, I really hope we see some movements in the direction of provenance. There's so much that can now be done on-chain with compressible NFTs on Solana. So it's really a fantastic springboard or starting point for us as we look forward in the coming year. Then, and this one I'll let you guide us through.
Yeah, so this is a quick sort of financial summary from the foundation. Try and keep it sort of digestible. So essentially the foundation's been running for over 2 calendar years, and BME was launched right towards the end of 2023. So we had our first year of emissions come through last year in 2024, and 9.1 million in total, of which 6.8 million render was sort of allocated for network operations ultimately. Of that, 3.2 was paid out, 2 million for node operators. Trevor mentioned somewhat. Our budget for next year, or 2025, is 1.5. The 1.1 million upgrade rewards, you know, that is really an incredible success story. I think once people have bought a token, and some people forget it, some people, you know, forgotten about it, some people have an exchange, to get through that upgrade process is a real phenomenal achievement. And it worked really well. You know, we didn't have any stick that we could force people to change. So the whole process was designed around a draw, and it seems to have worked really, really well. And Solana's working out for us very, very well. It's stabilized, cheap and fast to operate on. So super pleased with that.
Yeah, two things really stand out for me when I'm looking at this. One, we were definitely lean year one. It wasn't like we went out and spent all 6.8 million. And there's a good balance there sitting in Foundation Treasury for the community to direct. And I you know, we had a proposal last year that was around 3D model training that didn't make sense. But I do think this is a real asset to the community. And so I love that it's there, and that at the right point we'll be able to direct it and utilize it. The other thing for me is just how light our allocation was on the grant side last year, and really where we're going as it becomes more and more centric, driving users of the revenue. I think both those are pretty good narratives to see here as we look through it.
Yeah, particularly, you know, excited for the new tools available to artists, and where that bridges over onto the AI side, both for artist use and for broader AI use cases. It's an exciting time for the network.
Agreed. Okay, and then on the operation side, some new information here.
Operations, yeah. So year one emissions, 2.3 million. That helped us cover the incorporation costs, the operating costs in 2023, which were leaner when we were getting things set up and setting up for the BME that launched. 2024, last year, 0.9 million. So net leaving us a balance at the end of the first year of BME of 0.9 million in the foundation treasury, and budget for 2025, or an allocation for 2025 of 2.9 million. Not really a budget, because I imagine there will still be some surplus left over from that at the end of the year to add to the treasury.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, and then in terms of more tangible recent developments?
Yeah, well, I think I'd love a quick shout out to Sunny, who's not mentioned on the slide. Sunny's been a great addition to our social engagement team. Thanks very much, Sunny. And kind of moving down that line, we're super excited that Silvia has joined us. Silvia is over here. Very happy to introduce Silvia to the community. She's been getting on board, and really just the last week. And Silvia, you really feel like you're part of the team already. It's been one of the most fantastic onboarding experiences. So I think I speak for you fairly when I say you're super excited for the marketing strategy for the next year, and presumably the next 2 or 3 years as well. I think that's a real great kind of unlock for the whole project, the foundation and all the partners that it works with, primarily OTOY and hopefully now a growth of compute clients. Similar vein, Luke promoted to community, lead of community and governance. We've already seen Luke take some really practical steps in terms of enabling the conversations happening in Discord to be a little bit more focused, running threads on particular topics. Discord was getting really loaded with repetitive comments, and tidying that up, I think, is a real good move.
Amazing.
So a couple other things, Trevor. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, but yeah. So we've been working on the testnet,
right?
And you're very close to that. And today we saw the introduction of a lot of the new compute partners that are really exciting. And I think the big standout from last year is we were looking at other compute clients to bring in the demand, and what we've been learning things from that. One of which is we brought in the AI scouts, and they started really trying to match the supply and demand in a useful way and solve bridge for where the gaps are. And they found out a number of great unlocks, which formed the foundation of RNP 19 to sort of take things into our own control and use our own internal network of potential compute users. Intelligent Internet, Think, the guys that have spoken, that you heard a lot from today. So a lot of that is sort of coming out of the background work that is solving for what's going to be the picks and shovels of the compute industry. And I guess these picks and shovels are specialized. So getting that right is the game.
Amazing. Yeah, and just the call out there we have to RNP 19. We have a vote launching tomorrow. The community needs to drive these, and I think for us, getting participation in these votes is absolutely critical. I don't think we've got to the point of real tangible participation in our last couple, and for us as a foundation, it's something that we're really focusing on here, trying to address. What it starts with here is communication, and hopefully tool sets that can help people vote that otherwise are blocked from voting. But for us, it's absolutely critical to the project. I cannot stress this enough, that everyone who feels part of the project needs to participate if they are a holder of the tokens. And then, when we look at where the year is going, for me, I wasn't too surprised by this metric, that we've already processed more than 2x the AI jobs we processed all of last year in the first 3 months this year. Now, we only released the generative AI product in the second half of the year, but really the team have done an amazing job of adding a ton more models there. And what we're seeing is some impressive video generation. We're seeing real usage, which is pretty exciting when you think about some of the directions we're moving in and some of the other key areas I'll highlight over the day today.
Well, I think there's been a lot of amazing things that we've talked about today. It's been an incredible event, and we're at the confluence of a number of cutting-edge tools. Not only the cutting-edge tools of digital content creation, which is a space that is amorphous and moving very, very quickly and in diverse ways. At the same time, we're converging with AI, which is changing on a daily basis, not even just slightly, but radically. And we are also, pioneering a new financial system in the sort of blockchain side of the project. It's a confluence of a number of pioneering spaces, and iteration is the name of the game there, I think, and lots of exciting things that you want to give us a little recap on that.
Yeah. So many of you have been in various sessions. It's been hard to keep up with everything. So I thought what I'd do is just pull some threads of the day that I think were really amazing and really important. So the first one was very central to a lot of what was built on top here. But the Blender community for us is so important. And I don't think everyone realized that it is multi-channel. It's not just people coming to rendernetwork.com or using our upload download manager. It's so much more than that. It's people using our APIs and soon Agentic with MCP. And the potential for this to really open up a much larger addressable market on the network is what really excites us as we look at this. So for us, that was the first and really important step. If we build on top of that, there's then Simulon. They were one of the partners I showcased earlier. What Simulon have is a simple iPhone app for creators to try and create their own VFX scenes without necessarily needing a DCC like Blender underneath it. And what we have here is an example video that Divesh, their founder, created in a short time frame, really just showing VFX level quality created from an iPhone in a simple interface. Oh, didn't play the video, but I'll skip back and keep talking around it. The key thing I heard was twofold from Simulon. Number one, the idea that there's a scalable network where they can send on-demand jobs to idle nodes really, really interests them when they think about their architecture and what to do. And I think fits in with the core ethos of the Render network. So really exciting to see partners who are going to do rendering via API in the way we've set this up. But almost more importantly, the feedback was the integration was simple, it was fast, it was well supported. The team responded to their comments, in fact, built out some toolset. And this is exactly what I want to hear as we move into this partnership mode of being API driven, that we're responsive to those APIs being used by a growing user base and taking the network in a direction of growth. What I'd also say is everyone please look at this video. Tristan referenced it earlier. Andrey is somebody we hired as a production house grant, so an in-house grantee this year. And what was kind of different from our other grants was it really wasn't about rendering projects that were stretching the bounds of the network on its own. It was so much more than that. What he focused on was what tools were needed to help unblock doing real VFX on the network. And honestly, it wasn't a simple process. It involved changing the plugin, it involved changing the upload process, it involved so much more to it. But what I love is the idea of focusing on education and tools to deliver a suite of products that can then enable people who are doing VFX to use the Render network really excites me when I think about growth. And this to me was really a standout overnight of grants leading to real tangible future value here, and one that I'm hoping we can reproduce in many other ways as we look at blockers to people using the Render network en masse. Then also, as I referenced, the OTOY team have done a phenomenal job on adding these generative models. And there's a new user interface in the works, and video to video being a key part of that. And I view this kind of like the rendering as foundational. you've got people coming to rendernetwork.com or through API using the download manager. But when it comes to generative AI, as you heard Ahmad say earlier, it's really about control. And when you chat to motion graphics artists like the folks here today, these generative tools as they stand now are not enough control. In fact, the whole concept we're trying to follow here is building an ecosystem where artists can contribute Docker libraries of processes that they use that are outside of these standard flows. So customized recipes for the work they do day to day. And to conceptualize this, I wanted to give you guys an example. I've got a video here. What we have here is an artist who's integrated via the API and has installed Swarm UI, which is an orchestration tool that sits on their desktop and works with Comfy, right, to then do LLM or other prompt work. And what you can see here as we jump into it is a prompt generating a number of different nodes that then spike up here on the right-hand side as the work gets allocated across these nodes on the network. And it's a good illustration here on how Swarm can do orchestration, so it isn't happening on a single node, but it's happening on as many nodes as this artist needs. And what we're doing here is we're doing essentially storyboarding, which is a use case. But when I chat to the artist team, it gets them really excited that this is actually almost limitless. For them, they could generate textures. They could use prompts to generate other prompts. I had a dizzying list of things that our team would straight away move towards and try and publish. And that's what really excites us about this, because this is then us going beyond people coming in and just using a simple interface. This is a growing API-driven interface where folks can publish infinite libraries using different models and really expand the usage of the network from a first primary motion graphics artist perspective. So for us, really, really cool to see as a starting point.
Is this a good time to give a quick little synopsis on the Render Labs and how they're playing into the AI toolset?
I've got them in 2 or 3 here.
My bad.
You're jumping ahead here, but they're very much part of this, as are Think. When you look at how we're building this, I started from the pyramid of rendering through rendernetwork.com and through the API, and then we moved on to generating on rendernetwork.com, and now doing other different compute work through that API. And as we then expand that beyond just motion graphics artists, what really excited me today talking to some of these partners was the potential. You heard Ahmad on stage earlier saying that his company, Intelligent Internet, is really focused on the important models that need to be made public. And in doing that, there's actually a mountain of data that needs to be augmented, that needs to be corrected before you do the training on these centralized models. And I'm really excited that their team have integrated with Testnet and have successfully done data augmentation inference. For us, beyond that, they're testing some higher-end training. I really honestly don't believe distributed consumer compute is really ready for training, but I'm really excited at some of these other use cases. So it's amazing to see them as a partner. And in the same way, we had a partner talk earlier with the Jamber team, and them in combination with Manifest really represents a huge next step. And Tristan had said earlier, it's all about us taking control of this, us going out and finding the partners. Well, this is a partner with a real use case that uses a hybrid. They use a centralized team in Manifest to do secure compute and potentially even training. And then where they don't need it to be fast, where it can be done in an offline nature, where it doesn't need the security that you may need for some of the other data, they push it to the render network. And the quote we got earlier was, that it could save, it cost 10% of what it would cost them otherwise on the other side. This is very similar to what we hear on the rendering side, that there's a significant cost savings to leveraging idle compute. And it's just so exciting to hear that potentially playing out on the same compute side. Similarly on the agentic side, I view this as such an important next step. And just listening to Mike's talk earlier on the Think front, it struck me that it's not just about agents in the dimension I was thinking, where agents are people or virtual people who help extend what you're doing. It was so much more than that in how they weaved in training on our website, allowing your agent essentially to help guide you through the process, the potential for MCP and generating full scenes from a prompt. So, just wowed at what this could mean to usage on all fronts, on the rendering side as well as on the compute side. And then finally with this, the Render Labs team. And, great animations by these folks, I must say. But what really stood out to me there is, the idea of having to evaluate all these different models to navigate them is absolutely daunting. And having a team focused on doing that and on doing it in agentic ways that integrate within your tool sets really seems to resonate with our core motion graphics artists. And for me, shows a path towards really these new emerging ways of generating amazing content. I was really excited by the combination of these and what they can mean to driving the next level of compute and growth on the network.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that synopsis.
Yeah, sure. And, again, really, just this comes back from my side. Please, people, get involved across the board. Get involved on Discord. Get involved in Telegram and vote where you can. It's what drives us as a community.
Super. Well, hey, thanks so much for collecting here together. I think it's been a fantastic space of people of overlapping interests to get together and chat. I've had a huge amount of fun today and really looking forward to speaking and meeting more people this afternoon.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.